Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the Disinformation Chronicle. Back in May, I had this exclusive story. NIH virologist Vincent Munster was being investigated by the FBI. He was caught smuggling viruses from Africa back in the United States. And the story took off on Twitter. You can see that there was some retweets by Walter Kern, the book author, and by Naomi Wolf. So it got some traction going because the subtext of the story is that these cowboy virologists just they don't pay attention to the rules. We're in a situation in which the president has said he thinks the pandemic started from a lab accident by a virologist. Same thing from Secretary Kennedy. Same thing from the NIH director, Jay Bhattacharya, and Vincent Munster, NIH virologist. He's just smuggling viruses back in from Africa, not paying attention to the rules. About 2 days after the story hits, there's this group called White Coat Waste Project, and they come out with this, we have an exclusive whistleblower report. There's a full cover-up mode at the NIH about this NIH smuggling. Well, how can there be a full cover-up mode? The FBI is investigating. And I'd reported it 2 days prior, but these guys ran with their whistleblower report. I kind of don't pay attention to these guys that much, but all you need to know is just have a calendar. If something comes out on May 5th that says the FBI is investigating an NIH virologist who's smuggling in viruses from Africa, 2 days later, when someone says the same thing, that's not full cover-up mode. But this is what they're going with. And then they partnered with this lunatic Laura Loomer. I don't know if you know who she is. She at one time had very close ties to Trump, but those have kind of faded over time. Last year, the Free Press came out with a story, and it talked about how her influence had fallen because people inside the White House began to realize that she's a grifter. She was just using her close ties to Trump to make money off of it. And this came out in part when she went after an FDA official named Vinay Prasad. Prasad had gone after the drugmaker Sarepta Therapeutics, stopped their clinical trial after 3 people died. Well, Laura Loomer went after Vinay Prasad for this. What people in the White House were saying is they thought that, well, surprise, we think Sarepta might be working very closely with Laura Loomer. They think this because she has a private company called Loomer Strategies in which she takes in money. Here's what the Free Press reported. And just so you know, I had been told same thing out of people in the White House that Laura Loomer is working with Sarepta, but Free Press actually had the details. They reported that Loomer is running an online campaign against Prasad 2 days after the FDA placed a Sarepta clinical trial on hold after 3 deaths in the clinical trial and suspended product shipments. Laura Loomer labeled Prasad a progressive leftist saboteur. Trump officials told the Free Press that Sarepta and pharma payments seemed to explain Loomer's crusade against Prasad. Loomer, of course, denied this because that's what Loomer does. You should know one thing about Loomer. There are very serious allegations. I've heard some of these repeated to me by people who know Loomer that she has been already committed to an institution twice involuntarily. This is even coming from one of Loomer's mentors, a guy named Roger Stone, a very famous political operative who actually does advise Trump. And he torched Loomer's credibility in a recent essay that detailed Loomer's long history of mental illness, noting she's now cashing in as a propagandist for hire. Here's what Roger Stone wrote. Through dogged work and general fearlessness, Loomer created a substantial online presence. Loomer soon developed a lucrative business in which individuals, candidates, corporations, and others could pay her to promote their causes or destroy their enemies. One of Loomer's associates called me and told me, hey, if Loomer's writing on it, if Loomer's having it on her video, someone's paying her. So on May 11th, Loomer hooks up with White Coat Waste, and she has this breaking exclusive claiming that White Coat Waste Project first exposed this whole issue involving NIH smuggling, and that this is now in response to my reporting on a letter that White Coat Waste Project has. This is how delusional this woman is. They then took this little circus to the Hill. They somehow or another got Senator Joni Ernst to tweet out on May 15th that White Coat Waste was alleging a troubling cover-up of international virus smuggling. Okay, can I ask you something? If it's already come out on May 5th that the FBI is investigating, and has been investigating since January, how is this being covered up? How is it being covered up? The FBI is investigating. What is being covered up? We're not told this. And then on May 16th, Loomer comes out with some online video that Justin Goodman at White Coat Waste Project just exposed Trump-hating foreign virologist Vincent Munster smuggled a deadly Ebola-like virus into the U.S. There wasn't an Ebola virus. It's a monkeypox. But this is Laura Loomer, and this is how she gets nutty. So they keep churning this crap up over and over again on social media, and eventually, guess what they do? They hook the New York Times. I'm not joking you. They actually end up in the New York Times. The New York Times reports that Miss Loomer White Coat Waste Project, an animal rights group that at first publicly disclosed the investigation based on a whistleblower report, have framed the virologist as a potential national security threat. Actually, that's what I did, and I'm the first person exposing. You could read the article and read the interviews that I did. So I contact the reporter at the New York Times about this. I say, hey, by the way, May 5th comes before May 7th, and there's no whistleblower when you're talking about things that are already public. That's not a whistleblower. And the New York Times reporter actually tries to tell me that her story wasn't about who first publicly exposed. It's like, but it says it right there in your story. And by the way, here's the ethical guidelines for the New York Times. Where you work. Here's what it says. As journalists, we compete zealously for stories, but staff members should remember that acknowledging the good work of other news organizations does not hurt the Times. On the contrary, readers benefit, and the Times' reputation is enhanced if we are generous with attribution, crediting, and linking to others' work. Hello, New York Times. This is what you guys are supposed to be doing. So what does the reporter do? She argues with me some more. Then she takes the original version. Instead of crediting that I wrote it, she takes out 2 words at first, okay? She takes out those words, and she just leaves everything in there. So now it reads, Miss Loomer and White Coat Waste that publicly disclosed the investigation based on a whistleblower report. This is now all bullshit, okay? They didn't publicly disclose something. It was already public days ahead of time. And you can't be a whistleblower when you're blowing the whistle on things that are already in the public. This New York Times article just doesn't even make any sense anymore. It's just bullshit because they won't make a correction. This is why I tell you guys all the time, read widely and read wisely. I don't care if you go to the best news site out there, there's going to be crappy reporters. And you can go to unknown bloggers who have access to really good information. Always be careful what you read. The whole thing is, I paid for the New York Times. What the hell am I getting? This is all about a quote that we got from Mark Twain years ago. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. And this is what we're dealing with right now with people in the Senate, people on the Hill. They've been fooled, but they don't want to admit that they've been fooled. Doing my due diligence, I contacted White Coat Waste. I'm like, guys, why are you claiming that you broke the story that I broke? I contacted Justin Goodman, who's a lobbyist for the White Coat Waste Project. According to their Senate lobbying record, they spend about $10,000 a quarter on lobbying the Hill. And Justin Goodman gave me all this bloviating nonsense. None of it made any sense. So I just notified him. I said, just to let you know, if you're lying to the Hill, that's a crime. And I've actually caught people doing this in the past. Are you lying to the Hill? Because I've had to warn people about this when I worked in the Senate. So Justin Goodman doesn't respond, but I get this panic letter from his brother, Jared Goodman, shrieking that if I say they lied on the Hill, which looks like they did, then they're going to sue me for defamation. So I asked Jared Goodman, hey, Jared, were you involved in telling the Hill lies about what you guys actually did with this whistleblower report? And Jared doesn't respond. So on a final note, if you've been rumored by Loomer, and if anyone came into your office and you're on the Hill and they lied to you about what really happened here, please call me because I'm concerned about this issue. I've dealt with this when I was on the Hill, and I've had to warn people several times to not lie. They never like being told it, especially lawyers, because they know what can happen to their law license. So if this happened to you, please contact me. On one final note, the Energy and Commerce announced an investigation. They're looking into this matter, some of the same issues that I'm going to be looking at. And there's more stuff coming. I actually have a whistleblower who's giving internal documents at that lab in Montana where Vincent Munster works. So guys, stay tuned. Thanks so much. Please subscribe at the bottom and stick around. I think I've got another story coming out next week. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.